When 78-year-old Dorothy from Milwaukee received the devastating news that her assisted living facility was raising her monthly fees from $4,200 to $6,800, money she simply didn't have, she thought her only options were moving in with her overwhelmed daughter or accepting a bed in a depressing state-run facility where residents sat in wheelchairs staring at flickering television screens all day. But what Dorothy didn't know was that there's a revolutionary living arrangement that costs 70% less than traditional retirement homes, provides better care than most expensive facilities, and creates such a strong sense of community and purpose that people actually get healthier instead of declining. Yet the retirement home industry has spent millions of dollars keeping this alternative hidden from seniors and their families, because if you knew about this option, their $400 billion empire would crumble overnight. You see, while retirement home executives are buying yachts and vacation homes with the money they're extracting from desperate families, there's a quiet revolution happening in neighborhoods across America where groups of seniors are living together in regular houses, sharing expenses, supporting each other through health challenges, and creating the kind of vibrant, meaningful communities that institutional care could never provide. And when you discover what this arrangement actually looks like and how little it costs compared to the financial prison of traditional senior living, you'll be outraged that nobody told you about this life-changing alternative before you or your loved ones were backed into a corner by an industry that profits from your fear, isolation, and desperation. But before I reveal exactly how this revolutionary living arrangement works and show you the simple steps to create your own version of it, I need to prepare you for something that's going to make your blood boil. The retirement home industry has been systematically manipulating seniors and their families for decades, using fear tactics, false urgency, and outright lies to convince you that institutional care is your only safe option, when the truth is that most retirement homes provide worse outcomes at astronomical costs compared to alternatives they never want you to discover. Picture this. You're 75 years old, living independently in the home you've loved for 40 years, when suddenly you have a minor health scare or a small fall, and within days you're being bombarded by smooth-talking salespeople from retirement communities who paint terrifying pictures of what could happen if you stay in your own home, showing you glossy brochures of their facilities while conveniently forgetting to mention the hidden costs. The loss of independence, the institutional food, the lack of privacy, and the soul-crushing reality that once you sign their contract, you'll be trapped in a system designed to extract every penny you have before you die. Now here's what these predators don't want you to know. There's a growing movement called intentional senior communities, or senior co-housing, that's transforming how people age, where groups of 4 to 8 seniors purchase or rent homes in the same neighborhood, share certain expenses and responsibilities, maintain their independence and privacy, yet have the security and companionship that comes from living near people who genuinely care about their well-being. And the results are so dramatically better than institutional care that researchers are calling it the future of aging in America. Take 82-year-old Margaret from Portland, who was facing the choice between a $5,500 per month memory care facility or moving into her son's basement, when she discovered a group of 6 women who had purchased adjoining townhomes and created their own informal support network, splitting the cost of a part-time caregiver, taking turns cooking meals for each other, and providing the kind of emotional support and mental stimulation that keeps minds sharp and spirits high, all for less than $1,800 per month, including housing, utilities, food, and care services. But the story gets even more inspiring when you hear about Harold from Phoenix, who was told by 3 different retirement homes that his $8,000 monthly budget wasn't enough for the level of care he needed. Yet he found 5 other men in similar situations, and they rented a large house together, hired a live-in caregiver for $3,000 per month, split 6 ways, and created a living situation that provides 24-hour support, home-cooked meals, intellectual companionship, and the dignity of living in a real home instead of an institution, all for less than $2,200 per month per person, which is roughly 1/4 the cost of the assisted living facility that had rejected him. This isn't some hippie commune or unrealistic fantasy. This is a practical, affordable solution that's working for thousands of seniors across the country. Yet you'll never hear about it from retirement home marketing departments because they know that once people discover this alternative, their overpriced, soul-crushing facilities will empty out faster than a sinking ship. Now, let me paint you a picture of what life looks like in these intentional communities compared to the sterile, depressing reality of institutional care. Imagine waking up in your own bedroom in a real house with windows that actually open, where you can smell fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen and hear your housemates chatting about the day's plans, where you have your own space and privacy, but also know that if you need help or just want company, there are people who genuinely care about you just down the hall or next door. Compare this to the typical retirement home experience where you're awakened at 6 a.m. by staff who barely know your name, fed institutional food at predetermined times whether you're hungry or not, and spend your days in a sterile environment surrounded by people who are medicated into submission and slowly losing their will to live, while paying premium prices for the privilege of having your independence and dignity systematically stripped away. The most heartbreaking part of this story is how the retirement home industry has brainwashed families into believing that institutional care is the responsible, loving choice for their aging parents. When study after study shows that seniors living in community-based arrangements maintain better cognitive function, experience less depression, require fewer medications, and actually live longer than those warehoused in traditional facilities, yet families are made to feel guilty if they don't fork over their inheritance to put mom or dad in an expensive facility that profits from decline rather than supporting vitality and independence. This guilt is manufactured by an industry that spends billions on marketing designed to make you believe that anything other than professional institutional care is neglectful and dangerous, when the reality is that the most dangerous thing you can do to an aging person is isolate them in an institution where they're treated like a medical condition rather than a human being with a lifetime of wisdom, interests, and relationships. Here's where the story takes an even more sinister turn. Retirement homes are specifically designed to create dependency, not independence, because dependent residents generate more revenue through additional services, medications, and care levels, which is why so many people who enter these facilities in relatively good health quickly decline both physically and mentally, not because of their age, but because of the environment that strips away their sense of purpose, autonomy, and connection to the outside world. Meanwhile, seniors in intentional communities are thriving because they're still making decisions about their daily lives, contributing their skills and knowledge to the group, staying connected to their neighborhoods and communities, and maintaining the kind of mental and physical activity that keeps people healthy and engaged well into their 90s and beyond. But here's what gives me hope and should inspire you to take action. Creating your own intentional senior community is far easier than you might imagine, and it doesn't require you to be wealthy, connected, or particularly organized to make it happen, because all it takes is finding a few like-minded people who share your desire for independence, community, and financial sanity. And there are websites, organizations, and resources specifically designed to help seniors connect with each other and create these life-changing living arrangements. The process typically starts with having honest conversations about your fears, needs, and resources, then exploring different models from house sharing to purchasing neighboring homes to co-housing developments designed specifically for seniors who want to age in community rather than in isolation. And once you understand the options available, you'll wonder why anyone would choose the expensive, depressing alternative of institutional care when vibrant, affordable community living is not only possible, but actually easier to arrange than navigating the complex, manipulative world of retirement home contracts and waiting lists. Let me tell you about Rosa from San Diego, who was spending $7,200 per month in an assisted living facility where she felt lonely, bored, and increasingly depressed. until her granddaughter helped her research alternatives, and she discovered a group of 8 women who had formed their own supportive community in a neighborhood of small houses where they share meals twice a week, have a group text for emergencies and daily check-ins, rotate responsibility for grocery shopping and errands, and maintain their individual independence while knowing they're part of something bigger than themselves. And Rosa's monthly housing cost dropped to $1,400, while her quality of life improved dramatically because she was no longer a customer being served but a valued member of a community where her opinions mattered and her presence was genuinely appreciated. The financial implications of this alternative are staggering when you run the numbers. The average cost of assisted living in America is $4,500 per month. Memory care averages $6,200 per month. And skilled nursing facilities can cost $8,000 to $12,000 per month, which means that over a 5-year period, traditional institutional care can consume $270,000 to $720,000 of your life savings, money that could have supported a much higher quality of life in a community-based arrangement while still leaving a substantial inheritance for your children instead of enriching corporate shareholders who view your decline as a profitable business opportunity. When you consider that the same level of care and support can be achieved in an intentional community for $1,500 to $2,500 per month, you're looking at savings of $150,000 to $500,000 over 5 years, money that could be used for travel, hobbies, family experiences, and the kind of life enrichment that makes aging an adventure rather than a slow descent into institutional oblivion. But the benefits go far beyond financial savings because seniors living in intentional communities report higher levels of life satisfaction, better physical health, sharper mental function, and stronger relationships than their counterparts in traditional facilities. And this makes perfect sense when you consider that humans are social creatures who thrive on connection, purpose, and autonomy, all of which are systematically eliminated in institutional care settings that prioritize efficiency and liability management over human flourishing. In intentional communities, seniors continue to cook, clean, garden, pursue hobbies, maintain friendships, and contribute their skills and wisdom to the group, staying mentally and physically active in ways that prevent the rapid decline that's considered normal in retirement home settings, but is actually a predictable result of learned helplessness and social isolation. The most inspiring part of this movement is watching seniors reclaim their power and create the kinds of living situations they actually want, instead of accepting what the for-profit senior care industry tries to sell them. And when you see 80-year-olds who are hiking together, cooking elaborate meals for their housemates, organizing book clubs and game nights, and living with the kind of joy and vitality that's supposed to be impossible at their age, you realize that the decline we associate with aging is often a choice rather than an inevitability, and choosing community over institutionalization is choosing life over slow death disguised as safety and care. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds too good to be true, or what about medical emergencies and specialized care? And those are valid concerns that every successful intentional community has learned to address through careful planning, resource sharing, and partnerships with home healthcare providers who deliver medical services to the community rather than requiring residents to uproot their lives every time their care needs change. Because the dirty secret of retirement homes is that they don't actually provide superior medical care. They just charge premium prices to coordinate the same home health services that can be delivered anywhere, while creating the illusion of safety and medical supervision that disappears the moment you need expensive interventions that aren't covered by their basic fees. So, here's your action plan for escaping the retirement home trap and creating the kind of community-based living situation that will enhance rather than diminish your golden years. First, start researching intentional senior communities in your area through websites like cohousing.association.org, seniorplanet.org, and local aging resource centers that can connect you with others who are exploring alternatives to institutional care, because chances are there are already groups forming in your area that would welcome another member who shares their vision of aging with dignity and independence. Second, have honest conversations with your family about your fears, preferences, and financial resources, making it clear that you're not asking them to take care of you, but rather exploring proactive options that will allow you to maintain your independence while building the support network you'll need as you age. Because when families understand that intentional communities actually reduce their burden while improving outcomes for their aging parents, they become enthusiastic supporters rather than worried obstacles. Third, start small by connecting with seniors in your area who share your interests and values, perhaps through senior centers, volunteer organizations, or faith communities, because the foundation of any successful intentional community is genuine relationships built on shared values and mutual respect. And these relationships need time to develop before you're ready to make major housing and financial commitments together. Remember, every day you spend in fear about your aging future is another day the retirement home industry profits from your anxiety and uncertainty. But every step you take toward creating community-based alternatives is a step toward the kind of aging experience you actually want, one filled with friendship, purpose, financial security, and the dignity that comes from making your own choices about how you want to live. So don't wait until you're in crisis to start exploring these options, because the best intentional communities are created by people who plan ahead and take control of their future instead of letting fear and industry propaganda determine their fate.